I am the contrarian, and this is my world.
The world is going digital, so is banking. I'm Rajiv Anand from Axis Bank. Watch me on The Contrarian.
Literally every single thing we do is now touched by technology. But here in this country, in India, there is one category that we are very, very touchy about. That's our money. Credit cards, well, we may well have the lowest penetration of credit cards anywhere in the world. And thus everybody also thought technology to do with banking, to do with transfer of money, your entire idea of what you do in a bank shouldn't really be touched by technology. But that's the one part that is changing very dramatically in the country today. And the man with me today is going to take us through why it's happening, what are the pitfalls, what's the future like. So you have 45 seconds to tell us why Axis Bank is truly and absolutely on cutting edge technology in literally everything you're doing. 3 or 4 different ways that you're coming in to the consumer. So to what purpose? Is this just chest thumping? Is it just saying we are the most technologically advanced? What's the thinking going on here?
So let's look at it in 3 parts. One is in terms of delivery itself. Who would have thought, just maybe 5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I could give you a loan in 5 seconds? That's the kind of stuff that we're able to do on the mobile phone. You can book a locker on the mobile phone now. You can transfer money on the go, on the way from here to the airport. You can transfer money. You can create fixed deposits. All this in the old days, if you remember, people used to take a day's leave to be able to do what was called bank work. Right. That's really the way things have changed, and I don't think it's a beginning. If you look at it, we have 2 million users of our mobile app. We just launched a new app called PingPay. We've done about 100,000 downloads in about a month and a half. So clearly adoption in the financial world is going up very, very rapidly.
Predominantly all that people were doing on the internet was not transactional. It was, I wasn't transferring money too much. I'm talking about, a few years back. It was, I get my bank statement, I can get a checkbook.
We can do bill pay.
A bill pay, but I wasn't really physically touching my money too much, and that's why there was that level of confidence that look, not much can go wrong out here. But now we're talking about from your mobile app, your PingPay and everything else, we're talking about taking real physical money and distributing and putting it out there, automating the experience. A bill pay where 80% of my things that have to go anyway I don't even have a say in it. So there's a big difference between the two, right?
Yes.
So most of the people who still are on the internet with you, are they physically moving their money?
Yes, they are. The point I was making there is that we are now finding that customers are now signing up, are not making the transition from internet to mobile, they're going straight to mobile. Okay. And I think that is something that will continue.
So let me again explore objective. Okay. So you're giving, is the mobile app and this internet access for those customers you already have and making their life more convenient, or is this a billboard and an advertising campaign to get more customers because they feel, okay, this is the bank to go? What's the objective?
The primary objective, Rajiv, is that the customer wants 2 things. The customer wants banking anytime, anywhere, and he wants to make banking simple.
So you have something called an automated bank. You have almost very few people, mostly I think it's at malls and places that you get instant and immediate access, right? Yes. So you have an almost automated area. Can you take a few seconds and describe what that is, how that works?
Well, these are various experiments that one is we need to build branches where the consumer is spending his life. Okay. In the malls, in multiplexes, we are looking to automate more and more of our stuff there. And currently, we have one person there, a relationship manager, to help you through the experience.
So an entire bank has one human being, and the rest of it is all automated,
all machines,
right?
Yes.
So now here's where my absolute confusion starts. So let's now just go through what you've described as the future of banking. Mobile is the big deal. Yes. It's the one that has all the momentum behind it. You already had a very large number and continue to have a large number of people who will transact with you on the internet, on the web, right?
Yes.
These are people that are tech savvy.
Yes.
And therefore they will not come to the bank.
Correct.
But then you're building automated, completely almost non-human banks for the same people that should never ever need to come to your bank for any reason. So the same person who wants to have a cup of tea, the aged or this thing, won't be using the mobile app because they're not tech savvy enough. So they continue to come to your banks.
Correct.
And your objective was to make it convenient that I never need to come to the bank, yet you're building banks in malls to actually attract the same customer who can only use the mobile app. For who is these? I mean, is this just an experiment? Or is this, again, I'm back to chest thumping rights, that you have the most unbelievably cutting edge banks? Who is it for?
So I think it's a great question. If you look at what we're trying to do with these branches, it's ultimately, even in the Indian context, the number of people who are sort of still doing banking online is about 36 million customers.
Okay.
So the universe of customers that you're talking about is still very, very small. And so therefore, there is a larger spectrum of customers who are still to make that transition to digital platforms.
Okay, so these automated banks then are to acquire new customers?
Yes.
Therefore, that is a pretty clear distinction.
Yes.
That this is to acquire new customers. So now let's round this off with the last two questions, which I think are the two most critical ones. The first one is, when you talk about things like loans in 5 seconds and other such things which you can get, which are almost impossible to fathom just a few years back, what is it that you're really doing out there? Is there big data at play? Do you already have a profile of everybody? So you should know that if I apply for a loan and I apply for X, then it'll happen almost immediately. I mean, 5 seconds is almost nothing. So what's happening behind the scenes? And should I be worried that you already have a financial profile of what I'm worth for a loan?
We have a huge amount of data about you.
That's
because
exactly
of the number
what I'm
of.
saying. Should I be worried?
You shouldn't be worried. I mean, I think what the consumer is telling us is that you have a lot of data about me. You know me, probably better than what I do myself. And so therefore, you give me an intuitive experience. Don't ask me the same question again and again. You make me an offer of what I want, when I want, where I want. And that's really what we're trying to do. And what supports all that is really big data analytics. We've got a cutting edge team that helps us be able to deliver not only on the mobile, but we use the same technology to enable our relationship managers, for example,
even
to have a conversation,
so,
a more
so,
intuitive
so what
conversation.
kind of a loan can I get in 5 seconds? Just personal
Typically
loans
personal
or
loans.
nothing
Typically
else?
personal loan.
I can't get a car loan or any of the other things.
Most of that will involve some sort of documentation, because the underlying is either a house or a car.
So this 5-second loan is
a personal unsecured loan.
Documentless.
Yes.
It happens there and then, and suddenly 5 seconds later you wake up, the money's in your account.
You got money in your account. You can use it to buy online. You can go to an ATM and withdraw that money, whatever you want.
So it's immediately
it's real
yours.
money.
Okay. All right. And the last part, which of course is the most critical, which as a very traditional country with the way we've always been about money, I don't want to use the word close-fisted, but we've always been careful about money. Now let's get into the fact that there is a world out there where financial data is the most attractive data to hack, right? And there's another statement that goes with that, which says the difference between a hackable and a non-hackable institution is only time, right? So if we go into that, I mean, we've seen some incredible areas that have got hacked in the last 6 months. We've had a website right now where we had people who were having, some relationships whose names were, actually publicly taken out. It was almost a ransom bid, right? In a world like this, with the speed that we are all moving, and I'm not talking about Axis Bank, I'm talking about banking as a whole. Is this prudent right now? Of course, you've taken every single precaution that is available and you've built some very robust systems. But like I said, it could only be a matter of time. So at that time, will the guy who comes and physically only transacts with you and the guy who comes for a cup of tea suddenly realize and said, we were much better?
Ultimately, all our data is online. So therefore, whether it is and our ability to do these millions of transactions on a daily basis across 1,720 cities in this country, across 2,600 branches, is not possible without technology. So whether you're transacting in the branch or whether you're transacting online, the data is all on our sort of internal server.
Yeah, but your red flags will usually, for instance, if there is a constant transfer of X sum of money digitally from a customer who usually does that versus one who has never done it, I'm sure your algorithms will pick that much quicker, right? So
there's
There must be hundreds of
there's a
things.
lot of work that we do in terms of, I mean, ultimately we're in the business of trust. And so therefore, there is a lot of work that we do to ensure that we're able to provide a safe and secure environment to our consumers. And I think it's a constant battle between us and the hackers. And I think all I can say is that we are cognizant of the risk, and we have a disproportionate time and energy spent to ensure, like I said, a safe and secure environment for our consumers. Touch wood, the levels of fraud in this country, at least in the financial space, still is relatively low, and hopefully will continue to remain so. I hope so, and it continues to be so.
Okay. All right. My last question to you is my crystal ball gazing question, and that is, we've seen some dramatic changes in the last 2 years in the banking area. In the next 2, what are the 1 or 2 things that are truly exciting you? Because I truly believe that we are on the cusp of seeing incredible stuff more in the financial sector than maybe any other. So any of the 1 or 2 things that, you know, is there in your R&D lab, something that you're personally excited about, what can we look forward to that could be a game changer in every which way? There are many you already have.
So I think there's a lot of stuff that's already happened. And really, it's at the first stage, it's really to get more and more of our people to adopt to these technologies and to be able to, in a sense, work with the governments to move towards a more to a less cash society. Certainly not a cashless society, but at least a less cash society. And I think that is something that's already well on its way. So I think the big disruptions that we're going to see is within the payment space.
Okay.
So the way that you're going to make payments to your doodhwala, the way you're going to make payments to your the pizza guy who comes to deliver to your home, I think all that is going to change. Perhaps we're going to see the use of wearables for us to be able to do that as well. So I think the big disruptions are going to be within the payment space.
Okay, great. So I think we look forward to that one. We'll talk again once some of those come about. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Rajiv.
So that then is the interesting part. Now just imagine the story. So you've got your doodhwala coming to you and he suddenly wants to go onto a daily payment plan. That's the way he wants to leverage himself. And all you're doing is taking milk and showing your watch. And maybe you have an Axis Bank app on it. He's receiving his money every single time. That and a whole lot more on Contrarian as we meet you once again in the future. See you then.
I am the Contrarian, and this is my world.